Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I think we have the most beautiful day of the year here in Europe, and I can't imagine anything better to do than to talk about this great new product release and upcoming product releases around AEM. So for the next 30 minutes, I'll be talking about the Dash 2 release, what we've just released in certain regions and what we're releasing this week in others, but also what's ahead after that. At the end of the webinar, or like after 30 minutes, we'll be taking all questions. We're going to do Q&A, try to answer as many questions as possible. So yeah, like Rebecca said, please use the panel, and I'll try to answer them. Doesn't necessarily have to be around this release, but please don't use it for all your support tickets. All right. So today I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to talk about the features that we have developed, and then I'm going to jump into the product and actually demo them. So that typically gives a better feel of what we've done. But before I do, I want to talk a bit about what we're doing as a whole this year. So the priorities for us this year were pretty clear. I think we communicated this in December. We communicated this document called the AEM Priorities for 2016, where we outlined what areas of the product we wanted to change and improve. And the goal has been quite simple. We are enhancing the core RMM capabilities, make sure every single bit of the RMM product does the best job possible. Make sure that every single thing addresses the needs of our customers, and as a result, make people more effective and just make sure we have the easiest to use, most usable, most scalable product in the marketplace. We're still in this process of transitioning into the Autotask solution. So we've done the unification, we've done the hard bit, but we're not done with the Autotask integration. So this release, again, is a testament of that. It's an ongoing process. We're not going to be done. We're going to innovate. We're going to do things that no other product in the industry has been doing before. That's always the goal. And we're doing all this while still remaining always on. I think that's one of the essentials. We have this amazing platform, and it does so many different things that are of use, of course, to you, but it only matters if it's available. And what I want to talk about now for just a minute is how do we do that? Because right now we're in the middle of this release cycle. We're rolling out on our cloud solutions. So we've done one part of the US earlier, and we're doing Europe and Asia Pac this week. How do we make sure that we get the uptime that you need? And this is such an amazing solution, and we rarely talk about it because we always like to talk about the features. But I think one of the essential features of our product is the uptime, is the fact that it's 99.994% uptime this year. Releases like this, and this is a major release we're talking about, it only results in an hour or two downtime. It's truly amazing how that works. But in a nutshell, every single bit of our product is a separate part, and they all work together. Everything is load balanced, and based on what our customers are doing, like monitoring or running jobs or working in the web interface or deploying more agents, we get more service available, and this dynamically scales. And as you can see, and this is just an image as a background. You don't need to study this, but this is a true cloud solution. It's highly elastic, and everything we do, like this release as well, we take the most possible care to remain available, to make sure it's painless for our customers, and again do performance improvements on all sides. You have to imagine, this solution has been used for millions of agents with many different metrics, with daily audits, with daily jobs on all those devices. There's a ton going on at every single moment of the day on our platforms, and somehow it's magic that how it all works and how fast it is. And this is truly the testament of the cutting edge technology that we use. So the platform, that's still a foundation. We're investing in this. We're investing in our agent, reliability, performance, while also adding new features. And that's what I want to talk about now. The Dash 2 release is definitely a big feature release. This is one of those releases that we've been talking about for a long time. This release to us is a major milestone. It's a next major step in the Autotask unification. This is the release that makes it feel like Autotask. So for people using Autotask PSA, this is a really big step. But it's also the next step in making the system much easier to use, much easier to implement. We have done we split up a certain problem up in different smaller parts. Like one of the things our customers were telling us is we want AEM to be easier to implement. We want AEM easier to deploy, especially monitoring. And what we've done in this release is make significant enhancements in certain areas, so the overall result is much easier to implement. And the other thing we did for this release is take a look at what are the highly requested product changes that our customer base has. So what are the things that you really need our product to do? And for this release, we picked a couple. Maintenance windows, the ability to ignore or mute alerts in a certain period is one, and we've made significant improvements in the privacy mode. I'll talk about that in more detail. But again, this is a major release. So let's start with the basics. Audit. Any system like ours, it lives and like how you manage it lives with data. The more data you have, the better decisions you can make, the better you can apply your monitoring policies, the better you can automate your tasks. And this release is significant in that regard. We're bringing in a lot more information into the product, so deeper audit, as we call it. And the first thing that we're doing is bring in the Windows services information. So what services are running, what are installed, that's now being brought back to the platform. We're also bringing in Hyper-V information, so you know what machines are running Hyper-V, but also what kind of hosts what kind of guests are running on a certain Hyper-V host. We're showing you the relationships in the system. We're bringing back the last reboot information. So when was the last reboot, and is there a reboot pending? Very useful for patch management, but for many different reasons as well. And we're bringing in the information around physical memory configuration. So what memory slots are used, what is available, what's the speed, etc. Highly requested as well. So we're bringing in a lot more data, and one of the most visible changes that we made in the system outside of the Autotask rebranding is the new default filters, which are really amazing. It just makes navigating the system so much easier. So this is the audit section. So this is the foundation of everything else we do. The other thing we did in this release is make significant enhancements in the monitoring. So one of the things we did, like I mentioned in the introduction, is we built this new type of policy. It's called the monitoring maintenance window, and that allows you to set up a schedule, configure a schedule to ignore alerts. So one of the things you of course have is scheduled maintenance. Every Saturday you're going to perhaps install patches, reboot machines, run defrags, and reboot again. In many situations that will result in alerts, but you don't want to have panic on the service desk, so you want to ignore these alerts in advance because you know they're going to happen and they're not a real problem to begin with. And that's what is available now. You can configure these maintenance windows to configure these windows and just don't create tickets, don't send emails, don't cause any panic. Result is much better performance in your SLAs. So it's going to be an overall just better experience for everyone. On the monitoring side, we've also built new Vmware monitors. For those of you running Vmware, you probably told us we need to see more. In the current version, or in the previous version, I must say, we were already able to alert on things like temperature and disk and CPU and memory usage offline, but we've added these very specific hardware monitors for VMware. So you can now alert if a power supply has issues, if there's a fan with problems, or if the RAID configuration has an issue, which is really essential if you run VMware. So I'm very happy to have that in the product now. Probably the biggest one for new customers and also for our implementation people is the capability to import and export monitoring policies. We can now import these policies, assign them to a filter, and you're ready to go. So something that used to take 2 days to do, you can now do in 5 minutes. And as a part of this new functionality, we're also sharing a whole set of best practices that you can quickly import. If you want to monitor Exchange or SQL, you can just import these best practices and get going immediately. So extremely useful changes. But that's not all. I mean, those are the highlights, but there's so many different other changes people have been asking for, like the privacy mode changes that I mentioned. One of the things that people wanted to do is remote control machines, like of course like what is possible in the system. However, what do you do when there's nobody there to approve that remote control session? What do you do? Like that used to be a problem when privacy mode was enabled. Right now, in this version, you have more control around that. So when no one is present at the machine, you can allow a connection. When someone is working on a machine, you can allow the use of in the background tools. So you can still analyze event log entries or even run command shell commands without asking for permission on that. So allows for a much better support experience for both you and your users. We've made improvements in Splashtop. It's running silently in the background now. We've changed the toaster notification message. We've made updates to VNC running with like the latest engines, so much better performance on foreign language systems like Spanish or German. But also Mac support has been improved significantly. New reports have been added. New performance graphs in the performance report. New remote control reports. We've made improvements in the security settings. You can now give people access to only a group of devices, which was a very popular request. Made changes to the Linux agent, made changes to the Windows agent, all for stability, scalability, even in like for both those situations. I mean, we keep doing that with every single release. We make enhancements to the agent, just make sure that our agent are as robust as possible. We have to deal with so many different environments, and we always learn new things. Sometimes it's a Windows environment that changes, sometimes it's third-party applications, and we're gonna have to deal with that as the technology that we are. And every single release has enhancements there, and yeah, we see again much better performance as a result. So many things to talk about, and I just love to show you a bit more. So let me just jump into the product real quick. Okay, so first thing, UI changes. As you can see, the product looks much different now. It's much cleaner, it's much clearer. We've changed we've changed the colors, both in the CSM and in the agent browser. It looks much more modern, much prettier. But we've also changed the default branding, so new logos, new icons. If you changed them before, we're going to respect that, obviously, but new customers will see that. One of the major changes that you might need to get used to is the terminology change that we did. So profiles no longer exist. They're now called sites, which is a better name for what it actually is, and it's better aligned with Autotask. So you can now have multiple sites talking to one single customer, one single company within Autotask, for example. The system level is now called the account level. And there are many other changes like that. But overall, the UI is much improved, and also on the agent browser. By the way, let me just open up the agent browser. I'll remote control in a single machine in a second. So many different changes. One of the smaller changes here is you can click on devices here and jump into your device list immediately, which was a popular request. People didn't want to go to the summary page, and as you can see, everything feels a bit different. If you look at a single device, this is the new agent browser. Again, feels much more modern. Like especially if you come from the Autotask PSA system, it feels unified. Of course, there's the single sign-on, and it's just such a great experience now. But that's all the visual. Let's talk about functional changes. I'm going to jump into a single device now. This device over here has like the new audit of information available, like the new reboot state, Hyper-V state, like what Hyper-V version is running, and what Hyper-V guests are running on this machine. And like with VMware, there are links, and you can jump into them.
Matthé, sorry, can I just interrupt you? Sorry, we've just had some messages in the chat window in the Q&A that the audio is gone for some of our attendees. I can still hear you fine, but I was just wondering if maybe some of the attendees who still have audio could just send us a message over the chat. Yeah, we're getting lots of messages that the audio is fine, so I think it's just isolated incidents. So Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, carry on.
Okay. Yeah, so a couple of the things that you're seeing here right now is the deeper memory audit. Like we always used to capture the memory in total, but now you have your memory banks. And of course the services information is there now. So that's fairly useful because you want, like, let's say you want to know if it's very useful, I must say, if you want to know if something is running SQL or Exchange or IIS, like a web server, that's something you can typically see best in the services list. All this new audit information we're using for the new filters, and this is one of my favorite parts of the system. The new filters allow you to just jump in and find machines quicker, assign policies better. Using Control/, you can focus on the search box, and you can even start typing, and it will search your filters, like quickly find your machines that are running Backup Exec or SQL Express or Exchange. But of course, you can also just browse through the different categories. Do I have Backup Exec? No. But let's say you want to know about machines that are running SQL or IIS or our domain controllers. You can quickly find those. Very cool. These filters are used as, again, a foundation for the policies. So let me just jump into the policies. I mentioned a few things. The new policies that we have. One of them is the maintenance windows. And the monitoring maintenance window, that's like a very big new feature in this release. It allows you to mute these alerts. You can target either groups of devices, customers, or just single devices using the targeting options that we have. You can manage the exceptions, and you'll say, on this schedule, for this duration, I just want to ignore alerts. Very useful feature. The other things that we have, and you'll see that immediately over here, is the whole list of policies that you can now import. On our help, you can find where the place where you can just find this whole set of policies. But you can now just click on the import policy button, and you make them available in your system. Really, really useful. Within a single policy, you can jump into any policy and press the export button from the monitoring policy. The Esxi monitors, like I mentioned, we've added disk health and power supply health. Again, extremely important. And we've made changes to the privacy mode. Let me just make an agent policy. So the privacy mode is now you can activate it, but you can allow remote connections when no one is logged in, and only require endpoint permission for VNC, RDP, Splashtop, and screenshot. You don't have to enable this. So by default, you'll have what you have today, but you can, and by popular request, I expect a lot of people to actually enable this. So what else is new? Well, one of the things I mentioned in the introduction is like we changed the group permissions. You can now set permissions up in a way. You can give people access to only a group of devices, and you'll only see those devices then. So people don't have, like, you can give people access to only like one device or 3 devices. They don't have access to anything else, not all the devices within a certain profile or site, as we call it nowadays, not even the tabs, just for remote control. And then we have the reports. So let me just go into a machine, run new report over here. So that is the server performance report. That's the most popular one. That allows you to send your customers or your users a performance graph on their servers. So, did I run the right? Oh, apologies, ran it on the wrong group. I still want to show you because it is such a cool report. Yeah, so these graphs will show you the average, the disk delta, so how much did the disks change over the last 30 days. Extremely useful reports. So in a nutshell, that's the -2 release. Hopefully you're as impressed as I am. Really, really big release. It's not going to be the last release of this year, but it's going to make a very big difference. If you want to know more, all the release notes, including all the details, are available on help.am.autotask.net, including all the terminology changes, etc. Moving on, -3. So we're gonna have more releases this year, and the -3 release is going to be the release themed around patch management. It's not just going to have patch management, but it's going to be very significant around patch management. We've been talking about this for quite some time. This release will enhance patch management in many different areas. We're going to give you more control around the whole process, like where our patches coming from. We're going to enable, or give you the option to enable agents with local as local caches. So agents will download patches and distribute them among other agents without you having to do anything difficult like set up file sharing or anything. It just works. We've made changes to our patch approval, so you can approve and deny patches in a much better way. And you have much better control over exceptions. Let's say you manage a lot of different customers or sites. You can make very specific exceptions for those sites, and just managing becomes just so much easier. We're also adding quite a few new options in the power management side of the patch management policy. So Wake-on-Lan is now an option. You can wake machines, and we're going to be able to give people, show people a branded reboot notification message. Like, do you want to reboot? And then it's not just a Windows pop-up notification. It will be like showing your logo, etc. And then last but not least, we're going to give you just much better visibility on what has just happened. Much more activity around patch management will be shown in the system, and you can even use the data and to predict what's going to happen. So you can quickly see what patches will get installed in the next weekend, for example. Just so much more control, and this is a major milestone for us as well. So this is the -3 release. It's not the one we're rolling out now. It's the one we're doing after the summer. Let me jump into that release. I'm gonna switch system. Yeah. So okay, the patch management typically starts with a policy. So we are actually making quite a few changes. We're taking away a few options as well. So manual patches, like people that do manual patching, like quick patch, will have to work a bit differently. We found it very confusing in a way. There were two different places where you were able to approve or deny patches, and what we're going to do is focus everything on the policy. So all the approvals you're probably gonna do in the policy, which just gives gives you much more control and much better expectation on what will happen within a patch window. You can still force patches to run now, but they will install only the patches from the patch policy. So much better experience, I think. So what is new here? Patch location. So you can enable certain agents to run a local cache. You just check this box in the policy, and if there's a local cache available within the network, we'll use that. If not, we'll use a Windows Update, so our agents will go online and download the patches from there. You can deny that if you have a very specific reason to do so, but yeah, so that's a very highly requested new feature, of course. Like I said, we're also making changes to the approval. You can still approve by category or by by anything that you normally would do. So you can automatically approve all the high priority patches, but you can make exceptions or even manage by individual patch. So we have a whole list of all patches here, but there's a new state. So you have pending patches, approved patches, and denied patches. And you can quickly look at the list and then say, these patches are now denied, and they will never get installed. Other patches you can perhaps approve even if they're outside of your normal approval filter. So we're going to give you much better control over what gets installed. What else is new? Should have collapsed that menu. All right, so what else is new? Power management. So we can wake devices 10 minutes before the patch policy will run. Of course, they need to respond to the magic packet, but highly requested again. We have a bit more control over whether or not we want to reboot a machine with a mass storage device connected to it. And of course, we have the new reboot controls. So we can say if a machine needs a reboot, we're going to ask or warn, and you can use the branded notification box for like every hour, and you can upload the logo in the branding section of the product. So that's one area. Like I mentioned, one of the big changes, especially for our larger MSP customers, is one of the big changes is the ability to manage exceptions for individual customers. So in the current situation, if you had a customer that needed to behave a bit differently, so for example, install the patches on Sunday instead of Saturday, you would typically disable the system-wide policy and create a new one specifically for that account, that customer. What you can do when we ship this one is set an override. So you can say, I want to respect the account policy, but I just want to override a very specific part. So I want to install the same patches, but I just want to install it on a different day. So you can just toggle a specific part of the policy. For example, you can say, for this customer, I want to have different reboot settings. And the result of this is you typically have like a single place to manage all your patches now, and all your customers with exceptions will just have those exceptions, but you don't have to approve for those specific customers anymore. Very useful. There are many more features in this release. The ability to see the activity, like I mentioned, to predict what's going to happen. Most of that is done from the Manage tab. I'm not going to be able to show you today, but we're going to put out some more content in the very near future, so you can study that. But as you can see, this is going to be a very significant release as well. There's going to be more in that release. One of the perhaps smaller changes, but very useful again, is the enhancements to File Manager, or it's now actually going to be a real file manager. So we're going to make changes to the agent browser so you can create folders, cut, copy, paste files and folders, and rename them. Highly requested again. It's not going to be the only thing we're doing next to patch, but I just wanted to mention it already. Okay. That's what I wanted to show you today.